So welcome back to the weekly video series, and the next few videos are going to be loosely entitled Cooking the Books. People have asked me about ways that companies can legitimately massage their profit figures to try and catch you out, make you think they're doing better than they actually are. And what I'm going to do therefore is take on, in the next few videos, a few little tricks that they can keep up their sleeve in order to do exactly that. Now, the first video is going to focus on something called long-term contracts. Now, the sort of companies we're talking about here potentially are all sorts of companies involved in building and delivering complex products or systems for their clients. So that's plenty of firms in the aerospace, engineering, manufacturing, pharmaceutical sectors, to name but a few. Okay? And here, to cut to the chase, is the temptation. At the end of the video, I'll give you a reference to a couple of things you might want to watch in addition to this one. Now, here's the scene. Okay? I am an engineering company, and I've been awarded a contract over several years to build, let's say, the sort of conveyor belts that you need to build big aircraft. All right, I'm going to make these big conveyor systems and then deliver and install them for my client. Now, here's the opportunity if you're a crafty finance director. Well, let's say I'm expecting the profit on this 3-year contract to be £1 million in total. I'm not going to get that all at once. Okay, it's earned over a 3-year contract. Okay, and that's just the difference between my expected sales revenue, contract price agreed with the client presumably, minus future costs incurred. Okay, and I'm looking to basically allocate that over 3 years. Counts and I'll be prepared for a 12-month period. 3 years to allocate that £1 million profit over. How do I do it? Now, the next two ways I'm about to describe are perfectly legitimate. What I'm probably not going to do is dump the £1 million profit either here in year 1 or here in year 3. Okay, the contract's rolling for 3 years. If I take it all in year 1, there'll be nothing in year 2, nothing in year 3, which is a bit odd because I'll be busy building these products for my customer or my client over the next 3 years. And if I wait right until the end, be really cautious about it, that's going to look a bit odd too, because it'll be all costs here, and suddenly a big profit at the end. So accountants let companies compromise. And here's where the scope for playing around with profits comes from. Here are 2 ways you can legitimately allocate the profit on this contract. You could take a common sense view that says, as I complete sections of the contract, I will book a profit in year 1, year 2, year 3. Okay? So imagine you could know that 50% of the contract is complete at the end of year 1. Presumably, in technical terms, there must be some way of proving that. There must be some inspection that could take place, for example, where someone could say, yes, you have done roughly half the work. We'll leave that outside the scope of this video. You get 30% of it done in year 2, and the remaining 20% in year 3. Okay? Using that method, sort of work completed, the £1 million would be spread roughly as follows. You'd take 500,000 in year 1, 300,000 in year 2, and 200,000 in year 3. That's your £1 million profit altogether. Now, you could be looking at this and thinking, well, that's not great, because as a profit and loss account profile, that's not fantastic. 532 is not the kind of nice growing profile that you might want as a finance director. So you'd be thinking, is there another way I could do this? All right? And there is. Legitimately, you could say, I know what I'll do. I won't book profit on the basis of work completed. I'll book it on the basis of costs incurred. Now, you might have to have a little chat with the auditors, get this one past them. You might say, actually, I anticipate incurring, let's say, 30% of my costs in the first year, 30% in the second year, all right, and 40% in the third year. All right. Now, if you allocate profit on the basis of costs incurred, you end up with a different profile, because now you're going to take £300,000 of profits roughly in year 1, 300,000 in year 2, and 400,000 at the end. right? We won't worry too much about how you can have such a difference between work completed and costs incurred on these contracts. It is possible, but my point is more this. The profile you get out using this method is rather different to this method, and yet we're talking about the same contract to supply the same product or service to a client, okay, but with two rather different results. And the methods used here I've described are not really outside the rules, they're not illegal. It's just long-term contracts give finance directors the chance to play around a little bit with the way that the total profit on a contract is shown. This is only a 3-year contract, okay? This is very short. I mean, these things could be 8, 9, 10 years, okay, easily or more. So you can see the scope. And you know, this isn't even set in stone as we go along. Things will move. I mean, what happens if we start to anticipate cost overruns, for example, or we don't breach critical delivery points in the contract? Okay, then even this sort of system I've described, these systems, you know, these numbers will start to move around a bit. So the world of long-term contract accounting, which I've just given you a hint of here, is riddled with opportunities to move profits around between different accounting periods. And you might say, well, so what? Because you end up with, you know, £1 million of profit booked eventually. Yeah, but in the meantime, the impression given to an investor could be quite different. Now, for those people who felt I went a little bit quickly through there, maybe see my video, What is Profit? If you'd like a bit more background on profit and loss accounts and how they work in general, okay? And as a takeaway from this video, a couple of things. What do I do about this? Well, first of all, how do I spot it? Okay, and for the techies out there who like to rummage through accounts, all right, you could look at the accounting policies note, have a rummage through, usually note 1 to a set of accounts, and see what policy the directors have adopted in relation to their long-term contracts. You may find they don't adopt the same policy on each contract, confusing, all right, and look out for any changes. Other investors will think, well, I don't really want to have to do all that. So another way around the problem is to follow cash flow rather than profits, because cash is harder to manipulate, if you like, it's harder to play around with. So the cash flow statement and the cash flow per share number might be a bit more reliable than profits. But before you all rush off and think, brilliant, Tim, forget all this, just follow cash flow, do take a look at another video I made recently called 5 Ways Companies Can Cook Their Cash Flow. And that will explain that even cash flow statements are not perfect. Next week, I'll pick up this cooking the books theme and look at another way that the directors can attempt to pull the wool over your eyes in the profit and loss account.